Those lights are really bad in the background. Let's see if I can. There we go. Much better. Oh, and I've got to clean. Oh, all right. Hey guys, I've gone live. Last time in Greece as well. I've got to head out tomorrow. Unfortunately, I've got to get back to Melbourne for something that's popped up, which I kind of knew was going to happen. I was hoping it didn't, but it has. So now I'm leaving here at 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon to get back in Melbourne by Wednesday to start on Thursday. So it's been fun. It's 33 degrees. Didn't get time to go to the beach today. I'm sad. Update on the Loft. I thought I'd just do a live because I haven't really been able to do as much as I thought I would. We sent a plumber upstairs to the lady who was more than willing to help out with everything. We found a leak in her toilet and we're hoping that's the main source of the problem. I wish I could show you now, but everything's set up. I can't really show you, but from what I've seen, from what I'm looking at, we ripped out the wall as well because honestly, it was just needed to come out. There's so much mold in there that it was just terrible. It's black mold as well. So ripped out the wall just to make sure that it wasn't coming from the pipe from behind, which it isn't because that is dry. So it's obviously coming from upstairs from her. Now she claims that, it isn't from her because she changed her pipes years ago and blah, blah. That's not to say that something else hasn't risen up. And to be honest, this only started happening in December. So whatever it is quite recent. So when we went upstairs, well, I didn't go upstairs. The plumber went upstairs. My builder went upstairs. They had a look and they said immediately, like, they were going in to pressure test the gas heater system that runs through the ground with the water. I don't know, something to do with that. And they were like, I'll pressure test the system. And he goes, actually, let's just have a look at the bathroom just quickly. And he went to the bathroom, had a look at the toilet, and drip, drip, drip. And she goes, no, it's not that. I just mopped. And he goes, yeah, but there's a whole lot of like salt around the thing because there's a lot of salt in their water here. And he goes, oh, there's a lot of salt around the piping, so we reckon that's it. Anyway, they came down here. They changed. Sorry, she got a plumber in the following day, changed everything, and now we're just waiting and hoping that it's going to dry up. It's going to take about 10 days or so before this thing dries up. When we ripped out the wall the other night, because we were discussing if that was the issue, if it isn't the issue, ripped out the wall. Behind the wall where we put up plasterboard and all that, the screws had already been rusted. And as I ran my hand around the top of it, it was just full water coming out. You could tell. The next day I went back, it's dry. So that means that whatever water was in there is now gone. And now there's no water coming there. So that's also good. So ideally, in an ideal world, in 10 to 15 days, that thing's done. We can plaster it up, repaint it, do everything, get everything in here because I've got all the furniture paid for. It was going to come in the other day. I said, don't bring it in just in case mold gets the furniture. White goods are in, which then clean it up and then rent it out. So that's that. If it doesn't, this is where it gets a bit hairy because she's adamant it's not coming from her apartment. We're adamant that it is. And the only way you can really figure it out is if you rip up tiles. And I don't really want to put her through that either because, that's not fair on her. So then it goes up to the building. It goes up to the body corporate, I guess. And then you kind of get to them and go, hey, look, this is the issue. We reckon it's coming from there. Here's the videos. Here's the photos. This is what I believe. So, and then it's up to them to just start pressure testing systems and all that kind of stuff. So seems pretty straightforward. Ideally, we don't get to that point. Ideally, we fix the problem. And then I don't need to fly back in a few weeks' time, which I don't really want to do. I mean, I do want to do, but I don't want to do. I don't even want to fly back to Melbourne tomorrow, to be honest. Saw 4 degrees the other day on the weather app. It's 33 here. It's, I'm about to cry. But it's been an interesting time here. So running around. Just came back from one of the other places as well that there's a lot of mold happening in Greece, and that's because there's a lot of, like they call it hygrassia, which is humidity in Thessaloniki in particular. There's a lot of humidity everywhere. And if you don't open up doors and windows, then you're going to get mold. And we went today to one of the other places because we upped the rent and blah blah, and went and checked it out. And he's like, "Look, I've got mold issues, and it's been happening since December." And I was like, "All right," because I know the upstairs bathroom years ago had they busted some pipes, but they fixed that. I thought, "Oh, let's go and check it out." We had a look around and we realized it's actually coming from the tenant itself. And this is the other thing, that if you're ever renting properties out in Greece, you've got to make sure that they air out the properties. Because I had this happen with one of my other properties. The guy was like adamant, there's mold, there's mold, there's mold. I was like, mate, we've fixed everything in this. Like, it's basically a brand new thing. There is no reason why there's mold in this place. And we realized that he wasn't opening up doors because he was scared or whatever. I don't know. He was on the first floor. For Christ's sake, nothing was going to happen. But eventually we said to him, you need to open up. One way or another, he ended up leaving. I've got a new tenant in there. It's been a year. No issues whatsoever, which I knew. So sometimes it's from the building and sometimes it's from the person themselves. And if you don't open up a window or a door, even in winter, for 5 minutes to let fresh air come in, it's going to build up moisture in the building. Now, one way of attacking it is getting a dehumidifier, which I was thinking about that. And it might have to come to that we get a dehumidifier, because the other thing that we realized in this new one, not the new one, in today's situation, which is one of the old places that we've got, not old, like it's my parents' place that became mine. We realized that they're not opening up the windows, and that, because I walked in there and it was basically a sauna, and I'm like, dude, why don't you have anything open? Oh, I generally do, but sometimes I'm gone for a while and I don't want to leave windows open and stuff. I'm like, you need to leave a window open, man. This thing needs to breathe. Like, the apartment needs to breathe. I said, you got no issues in the bathroom, where generally there should be steam. I said, you got no mold or issues. In fact, the bathroom's cooler because it's all tiles. But I said, your lounge room is boiling. It's like a sauna in here. I said, no wonder you got mold on the walls. And you can see that the wall has got mold, not from a pipe where I've shown you guys photos where it's black mold coming because there's constant leak. This is sort of drop spots of mold everywhere because they're not opening up the apartment. The apartment's just moisture inside. Yeah, of course it's going to create mold. So you've got to be careful in that situation where it's not caused by the actual apartment because of the leaking pipe, and it's caused from the tenant. If it's caused from the tenant, then you just got to say to them, look, you need to open it up. And that's what I said to him, like, you got to open it up. And he goes, yeah, but the issue isn't generally in some of the issues in winter. And then what we realized is that because I've only got an air conditioning system in there, a split system, heating, cooling. He goes, we don't open up any of the windows during winter. We just let the heater on and that's what we do. And I said, you've got to let it breathe, even in winter, even in Australia, in Melbourne. I keep a window open during the day. If I'm gone, I'll keep a window open just to let the place breathe. At night time, close the window, switch on the heater, do whatever you want. But and I explained to the guy, like, in winter, I remember, because I live in an apartment building, I'm down by the beach. I said, I can see the adjacent window on the neighbour's building or whatever. And I said, they don't open up windows. And in the morning, you just see droplets of steam on their windows. I said, well, if you never open that up, that's just going to create mold in the apartment. The apartment needs to breathe one way or another. So that's a big thing in Thessaloniki. Now, you can get a dehumidifier, which I am thinking about doing. Or the only other thing that I have been told can happen is if you put in gas heating here, which gas is becoming a big thing. Where Australia's getting rid of gas slowly. They're bringing it in here. So I've put gas heating pipes in this one purposely. It's a small place. You don't really need I've got a massive gas heater. I wish I could show you guys. In fact, maybe you can see it. I don't know. There it is right there. That's way too big for this apartment, but I just bought it anyway. I was like, it was 150 euro stuff. I didn't know how big to get it. I just got the biggest one. Now, gas doesn't create the mold issue. It's sort of a constant heat stream, and it's, you can regulate it a little bit easier as opposed to an aircon, which has got water running through it and all that kind of stuff, blah, blah, blah. So that's one thing. But I'm like, to put gas into that apartment building, you want to do it properly, which it's going to cost about €2,500 by the time you buy the pipes. You dig up the ground, you lay everything down, you buy those the gas heater, that's just the heater, that's just the body, which they call it the sauna. then you need to get like the actual gas heater, which is like €1,000 plus if you want to get a decent one. And then you got to retile, redo that. I'm like, it's a €2,500 job to do it properly. And I said, or you can get them and they can lay the pipes externally. But I mean, I don't really want it to look crap. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it properly. And I'll probably do it when I renovate the place. It is worth it putting in gas heating because it does take away these issues with mold and stuff like that. From what I've been told, everyone says it, that they don't really have issues because something to do with the gas heating, it's a dry heat, blah, 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 as opposed to an aircon, which I don't know. That's what I've been told. So that's one thing. I don't want to, they're all living there. They need to come out of that place for us to do that and then go back in. It's just going to be a chaos. So I said, all right, let's leave it till winter, see what we do. Because initially we thought it was coming from outside. We're like, okay, maybe a balcony's leaking from upstairs because it's on the wall. It's right up on the wall next to the balcony. So we thought, all right, maybe there's water coming from upstairs. There wasn't any water coming from upstairs. There's no water coming from outside. We've actually sealed it outside nice. It's looking very dry and beautiful. And we said, mate, this is an issue from internal wear, which means that you need to open up your windows. Simple as that. I don't know how else to say it, but you just need to open up the windows. And when I walked in, it was a sauna, mate. I said, I've been in here for 20 minutes. I'm sweating bullets. And he goes, yeah, I know. I was gone. I said, well, why don't you just crack the windows open when you're gone? Just drop the security blinds and just leave the window open. 2 windows, one in the bedroom, one in the lounge room. Mate, it'll be a breeze in here. Yeah. I was just being scared. Anyway, so I said, look, come winter time, if that's where you have your most issue, let me know, take some photos, let me see what's happening. Worst case scenario, I'll buy some dehumidifiers. Or I'll buy them a heater, or I don't know, whatever it is. It can't be much more than €100 to try and get this issue fixed. So if you want us to paint it, I'm happy to paint it. But unless we figure out what the issue is, the mold's going to come back up in about a month. There's no issue painting it. And it's also going to cause issues for you guys. You need to get out. We need to cover. Anyway, moral of the story is get your tenants to open up their windows. I dare say in Australia as well, that the place needs to breathe, man. You can't not have a place breathing. You're going to get mold. You're going to get water damage, all that kind of stuff. Especially, I never thought an aircon could do that, but apparently it can. There you go. I don't really run an aircon in Australia. I'm in a small apartment anyway. I do run the aircon, but I don't really run it all day and all night. And even in summer, I've got a little wall heater that cooks the place. So I just use that. I don't even go to the aircon. Can you paint over mold? You can paint over mold. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, ideally, you should just try and get rid of it. And then eventually, and he was showing me, he's like, we've got these, I don't know, this spray bottle they buy from the supermarket here, and it clears the mold. Insanely good as well. So, but you can also use vinegar, you can use chlorine. There's certain mold things that you can do. And then eventually, yeah, if it doesn't come out, you want to paint over mold because, not just straight paint over it because it doesn't really get rid of it. It just sort of covers it. You want to try and get rid of it, scrape it. Depends where you're painting as well, because in Australia they use a lot of plaster. Obviously, it's all plasterboard. Here, it's not. It's like that's all concrete behind me. Plasterboard started coming in now, but then they're not houses here built on stilts. They're apartment buildings, with built out of concrete. So when you get mold on that, you've got to really scrape. Maybe even chisel some of it away and then refill it, not putty, but like, the cement putty or whatever it is they do, and then kind of paint over it. So you want to kind of really get rid of it, especially if it's black stuff, man. That's very dangerous to breathe. You can't be in there. So actually I have a friend who's coming now tomorrow, and essentially I was going to say, stay here. We've got the furniture coming, even though it's not finished, at least you'll have a bed and blah, blah, blah. But now with the black mold, I was like, no chance. I'm not putting anyone here. Also, I just told the furniture guys to just not bring anything for about a month. So now back then I thought I was still here for another month. I get a call the other night at 2 a.m. Hey, this and this and this, you've been offered this. Do you want to come? And I said, yeah, it's too good of an opportunity to pass up. Long story short, for those that don't know, which I've kind of no worries, Joe. I'm an actor. I've been working in film and television for the last however many years. I work behind the scenes as well, and obviously in front of the camera wherever I can. And there's an American film that's filming in Melbourne, which I was working with the director as an actor workshopping the script for weeks before they started filming. There was a small role that I thought I was going to get. I didn't get it, so I left for Greece. Turns out they didn't give it to me because they were holding on to me for something bigger. They just didn't tell me. So all of a sudden, I get a call from my agent. She's like, "Hey, they've offered you this role. It's, I think you need to do it." And I was like, "Yeah, you're right." It's an American film. I can't say much. I've obviously got NDAs, but it's too good of an opportunity to say no. And I said, "Yeah, that's fine. When are they filming?" She goes, "You need to be in costume on Thursday." I was like, "Oh, great." So, long story short, within 2 days, my life changed. Within 24 hours, my life changed and changed everything. All the flights, this, that, da, 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 da. Leaving Monday to land Wednesday to be in costume on Thursday to start filming on Monday. In the cold, night shoots. Great. Not complaining. I love it. I love it. I love it. So I might come back to Greece after that, after the shoot ends. We'll see how we go. I don't know because I've got to be back for 40th and stuff, and it's still in my head in because I really wanted to see this place finalized. I wanted to get content. I wanted to get videos and photos and this and that. And I don't really know anyone here who can do it. And then I've got the new place that I was going to start painting. I went and bought paints. I was going to start painting the place. Got the call, ditched everything. I was like, no, I'm going to the beach. I'm not spending my last days in Greece locked up in an apartment painting. I'm going to go to the beach, and I was all day yesterday there. So ideally, by the end of August, this place is going to be finalized. Fingers crossed, we've solved the issue. We're waiting for it to dry. Once it dries, perfect. Done. Within 3 days, that'll be done. Furniture in, clean, set up, see you later, ready to roll out to some kind of shooting. And this is the time, if you're buying properties that you want to release out to university students, right now is peak, which is why it's killing me. Because what happens is the schools close June-ish sometime, and then in July, around mid-July, everyone gets their results. And then they know where they've been accepted, which university, where they're going to go to, blah, blah, blah. So now results came out last week. Everyone's going haywire trying to find places to rent where they've been accepted, which is why I wanted this finished by now. Now, having said that, that doesn't mean this place won't get rented out. I remember renting my other one out in September to a uni student. So, there's always people that, I didn't get it. There's always people that leave it to the last minute and whatever. But now is the time where you really want to be renting out, especially in a university, especially something that's aimed towards a university student. That doesn't mean that things won't get rented out. This is obviously peak. And every year that I come here, I end up leaving around about August, and a new property is always leased out to a uni student, basically by the time I'm either gone or within a week after. So I've still got time. It's fine. It's only, 12th of July. So I've got time. It's not going to bother me. I just wanted everything done. Because if there's more issues, then obviously I've got to fly back. And it doesn't bother me. It's just that it's 27 hours or 30 hours. And I'm just like, man, who can be bothered? That's the only thing that does my head in. And I could put people in place here to look up. In fact, I do have people in place here to... Someone's breaking into a car. It is 2:30 on a Sunday, which means everyone's sleeping as well. So, there we go. I do have people here to look after stuff. Obviously, it's just that I'm a bit of a control freak, and I just want to make sure that everything goes the right way and does things go according to plan. And you steer the ship in the right direction. But anyway, it is what it is. I'm sure things will figure themselves out. What I can do, I have done, and now I'm at the mercy and the hands of the plumbers, the plumbing gods, and the Greek system if all else fails. So, but I got told that from here, you get in touch with the body corporate in case anyone ever has issues with buildings and you've got a terrible neighbor and blah, blah, blah. Mine luckily has been great. Also, I haven't demanded. I'll just be like, can we please, can we do this? Can we try that? Can we just make sure and just try, And she's like, yep. If this issue persists, and we strongly believe it's from her place, which it is, because the way that the water's been coming through on the roof is exactly where her bathroom was. And the other night we were up here and we heard the bathroom, like you could hear them in the bathroom, like the water running, whatever. And I'm like, oh, obviously it's that. Then, I've taken videos, I've taken photos, then you kind of go to the body corporate and go, look, we strongly believe this is what's happening. We've done this, we've done that. Here's the evidence. Then they've got a pool of money to be able to go, okay, we can intervene, blah, 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 blah. Because obviously she doesn't want to rip up her bathroom. Understandably, I wouldn't want to either. Failing all that, then you can go to the police and start obviously going, hey, here's our issue. And then you go to court. Now, I don't want to get to that point. No one wants to get to that point. But it's a common thing here, and it gets finalized very quickly because, weirdly enough, of all the things that, Greece goes slow and this and that, when it comes to people's living quarters, an apartment, a home or whatever, and it's got to do with the building, they fix that very quickly because the other person you can't move in here. You can't live in here with black mold. And because they all have lived in apartments for 100 years, it's an unwritten law that everyone does whatever they can because it's unfair on your neighbor. So the process kind of moves quite quickly, which is nice to know. I'd rather know it by someone telling me than having lived it, and hopefully I don't live the process, but let's see what happens. Because again, if it does go down to the point where I need to go to court, I'm going to have to inevitably fly back. Not because I have to, I've got a lawyer I've got a lawyer here, but I'm going to have to, I want to come back and just sort of see what's going on and all that, But even before it goes to court, I'd probably even just be like, I'm willing to pay what you need to get done. If you don't have the money, I'll pay for it, and you pay me back in installments whenever you want. I don't care. Because the longer this waits, then I'm losing potentially 450 to 500 euro a month on rent. Well, only for 4 months down the track for them to say, okay, yeah, cool, we'll do it. And then I try and get this rented out in December. Playing that game. But it's kind of upset me because this is kind of my little pride and joy. I really like it. It was my whole design that came out into fruition, and everyone who sees it's like, damn, man, you put in a lot of money in here and done it well, and it is. It's a nice place. Lessons learned, mistakes have been made, and issues are being resolved. But other than that, that's about it. I've taken as much video as I can. Actually, I've taken no videos. But I'll do what I can to piece together whatever kind of content I have to try and get a video up when everything is done, so I can show you guys what to do if anyone is interested. Lofts has still become a very big thing. There are now companies that are building up apartment buildings and dividing the properties, big properties. In fact, I was looking at a property before I came here with one agent, and he goes, oh, it's a massive, I don't know, 80 square meters, 85 square meters, which is big for Greece, I guess, maybe, or maybe it was more, 100 and something. And he goes, you could split this in half. I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, you could split the apartment in half, turn it into two smaller ones and lease it out to students or whatever. I was like, man, that people are starting to do those kind of things. Now there's buildings that are being built, that are being bought, split all through the middle, apartment-wise, and turned into little 30 square meter studios for university students because they're right near so all of a sudden you've got a building with 5 stories and 3 apartments in it, and they've split every apartment into 30 square meter studios all through the whole building. I was like, man, they're really, there are areas in Greece as well, university areas, where people aren't finding rent, and students are either trying to bunch up their courses, I guess, to be together in 1 day or 2 days, where they can spend a night over there and come and go to and from Thessaloniki, because it's an hour away or 2 hours away, and it's much easier to just go there and do all your courses in 1 day rather than try and find accommodation. There are people who own properties, houses or whatever, in these certain areas where they've built a little shack at the back. They're living in the shack and renting out their house, and they're renting it out for gold, and they're going because there's no rent. Students are struggling to find rent everywhere. So So there's a lot of there's a lot of opportunities when you're looking at making money out of those kind of properties in those places, depending on where you look, the areas I'm looking at them now. I don't know if I want to buy another shop at the moment. I've been a little scarred, to say the least. But, out of both shop conversions that I've done, this has been the first time, out of everything that I've done here with where I buy and renovate and rent out, this has been the first major issue I've had, so I'm quite lucky. From one angle, I'm glad I've gone through it because now I know what to expect. And it's not something that we could have foreseen either, because when we ripped up the wall, ripped up the roof and all that, there was nothing there. So it's obviously an issue that's just arisen, which could happen at any time down the track. Other than that, that's about it. I've got nothing else to sort of update you guys on. I'm still waiting on the paperwork to come through on the loan. Once that gets finalized, I'll be able to show you guys what I bought there and get that rented out, because that's basically no issues whatsoever. The only thing is it doesn't even need a paint, but I want to paint it because they painted it all different colors. And I'm like, I'd rather not have a house that looks like a clown's quarters. I'd rather just paint it all one color. So that should be done in the next couple of weeks. I said 10 business days. It's been 5 so far since they got the paperwork. You want to buy in India? Go to India. I don't know. I'm not in charge of India. I don't deal with India. I've never been to India. I don't know. Go to India. Find someone who deals with India. If you want to buy in Greece, I can help you. But it's not India. That's about it, really. I thought I'd just jump on and see if anyone's got any questions other than buying in India, or any issues or whatever. I've had a few people reach out with regards to stuff like this, residency issues and stuff like that, and and asking me to, where to buy and what's sort of good. Cousin of mine is actually interested now, so I'm about to get in the process of looking at places for her. Yeah, it's all happening in Greece. I'll be honest. It's actually been quite a shock to see how much money they're pouring. I mean, this is Thessaloniki. I've only been to Thessaloniki. I was meant to go to Athens, and obviously I can't now. But let's just take Thessaloniki for argument's sake. They're pouring money in to rebuild a new ring road, which has been in the process for a while. They've opened up the metro, which took 20 years to build. And they're going to expand that out to the airport. They're rebuilding now all the streets in the main parts of Thessaloniki and building in bike lanes, which is so bizarre because I've never seen a bike here, but okay. Fine, they're rebuilding all the pathways. They're doing all the works they can all of a sudden out of nowhere, and they're really ramping things up. And that's quite interesting, because out of nowhere, where they didn't really ever do anything, now they're doing everything. And I think it's because a lot of the Balkans that are coming in. I mean, Halkidiki is one of the beach areas here, the closest beach area. It's probably one of the nicest beach areas in Greece. There's a lot of hidden gems that the locals know where the tourists won't go, because the islands are nice, but the islands are cold and windy generally. Whereas the beaches in Halkidiki, they're closed off by the land itself, the way it sort of shapes around. They're beautiful. They're the crystal blue waters, all that kind of stuff. And it depends where you go. You can find crap stuff everywhere, and you can find really nice gems everywhere as well. But generally speaking, because we're the closest beach part to the Balkans, so you've got all your big Bulgarians, Albanians, Macedonians, Turkish, all that kind of stuff. They're all coming through. Russians, whatever. We've really ramped up, and they come through Thessaloniki and go into Halkidiki. So I think Thessaloniki is like, right, let's just get our shit in order and start rebuilding this place up and kind of making it look somewhat respectful, which they're doing. It's just doing my head in, because all the works are happening all at once and they take ages. But having said that, Melbourne was the same for the last 4 years. They were building the tunnel, the Westgate tunnel. Now they're building the ring road, the continuation of the ring road. They're building this, they're building that. Everywhere you go, everyone's doing renos. Even in Athens, I mean, the Ellinikon still going hard, 24-hour project. And, if you go down that way, it's nice, but it's chaos. So, but Greece is building up. Anyway, That's my little update. I'm going to do another video with Dimitri Platsis, who was the broker that I went through. Just so we can have a chat about the whole process. We were going to do it person to person, but obviously now I won't be able to. So I'll do that from Australia and I'll put that up once we organise that. He's currently doing his own little holiday at the moment somewhere. Because that's been a very simple process. It's been a very easy process, and well, I'm going for round 2, so so there you go. But I'd love to give that guy some love as well in here because he's been really good to me. And I'll take some videos and put them up when I get a chance. But other than that, that's about it for me. I'm back in Melbourne next week. I'm gonna cry thinking about it. But anyway. That's it for me, guys. Enjoy your night. I'm going to go and enjoy the rest of this Sunday Arvo, and we'll chat soon. Now I'm going to do the end stream dance.